It was awful. I love Zach. He's been with me a long time. Love his family. Obviously, there's a lot of history there. But when you're in a position that I'm in, that you have to do what's right. And I love Gene Smith and our president. I just had great conversations. This is not a one-man decision. This is something that was a lot of thought, a lot of prayer, and what was best for Ohio State, what had to be done.
Was there a tipping point or anything, Urban, that led to it, or was it you mentioned your people you leaned on to make the decision? Did everybody just come to the conclusion it had to be done?
Yeah, I don't know. I just out of respect to everybody involved, it's done. It's time to move on and get ready for practice that starts next week. And details and all that, that's all that's going to come out.
In terms of the receiver core, does it help when you have a situation like this to have as veteran a group as you have, with a Paris Campbell who's already a leader, as opposed to if it were a younger unit?
Well, you got Paris, Terry, and Johnny Dixon are elite leaders. You got KJ Hill and Austin Mack are right there. So, we are, and CJ Saunders. So we have a bunch of guys in the gold already, which means you're very mature on and off the field. And, I'm not worried one bit about how those guys will perform.
I know you've been dealing with the other stuff, but any thought on who's going to assume that role as receivers coach?
Oh, any thought? Yeah, a lot of thought.
Any news?
No news yet.
Okay. Let's go on to other things. The offense with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. How different is it going to look? It's still your offense, but obviously has a different skill set. How different will fans notice a difference in this Ohio State offense and how it attacks this year?
Well, someone told me of the top offenses in the history of Ohio State and in the Big Ten, we have most of them. In the last 6 years, we expect to be one of the best offenses in America. The premium placed on ball security and toughness and be balanced, that will not change. It might look a little different. Because we're not going to, what we don't do is try to force things. We're going to try to do the best we can as a coaching staff to take advantage of people's skill sets. We have very good receivers. Dwayne is very good to get the ball out, but you have 2,000-yard returning tailbacks who are excellent players. So it remains to be seen. It might look a little different, but at the end of the day, we're trying to be efficient, score points, and not put the defense in bad field position.
Is the Tate Martell thing, in terms of him playing this year and having packages for him, is that a real thing that you guys are talking about?
Tate Martell will play this year. Depending on exactly how the next 30 days go, will determine how much. But he's the way he's worked and his competitive he is, he'll play.
Visiting with Urban Meyer here at Big Ten Media Days in Chicago. I want to hit with a couple of broader college football topics. James Franklin mentioned yesterday that he likes the playoff system and the direction that it's going, but his thought was that there needs to be more uniformity in terms of, like, you guys play 9 conference games. Not every conference does that. SEC plays 8, ACC plays 8. He wants more uniform rules across the board. How do you feel about that in terms of now that we're in this playoff system?
I did read that, and I think there's a lot of validity to it. I think those are the higher, for the Big Ten not to have a team in there 2 years in a row, or the champion didn't make it 2 years in a row. I just think there's a lot of conversation to be had. I think everybody's heart's in the right place, but I do believe standardization of scheduling is something worth talking about. And if not, then, don't penalize the people playing a harder schedule. Those are all things that I think need to still have conversation about.
The rule this year that has allowed the new redshirt rule with playing 4 games. How much does that change your strategy in terms of using your young guys this year?
A lot of conversation. Don't know the answer yet. It was a good rule. It's one of the few ones I agree with. When there's changes, I'm usually the guy that disagrees with everything. But this was, when it's positive for the student athlete, I'm in. And this was very good for them. And it remains to be seen exactly. I know by the end of the year, you hope you have the ability to play some of those guys, because a lot of times they get developed later, and it takes until October till they're ready to play. And you want to get them in there. In the old rule, you couldn't play them.
You also, for injury standpoint, late in the season, how much does that change things? I mean, I can think back to Jim Tressel's era where he didn't want to play Todd Beckenrill bowl game, and he was in a difficult situation, and they actually had Ted Ginn go in for a couple of snaps. And now it would seem this rule would alleviate situations like that where he could use it.
I think so. I think a lot of it remains to be seen on exactly how, but the examples we just talked about are, if you need them in the second half of the season because they develop, then you play them. If you need them in the second half of the season because of injury or bumps and bruises, you play them in the stretch run. and I think that's a good thing.
All right, what's the most important thing as you guys get ready to start training camp or the first couple weeks of camp?
Well, you have 25 practices, no 2-a-days, and a mandatory day off. So it's a different world right now. The key word for us is going to be efficiency and be very smart. We have some talented players that have played a lot. I think you treat them a lot different than the guys that haven't. So how do you get a team ready? This will be the fewest practice days we've really had in a while. But you have to be very efficient on the days off and the second part of the day, which is a lot of walkthrough, et cetera. So efficiency is the key.
Last thing, talking to your guys, they talked about their love and admiration for Coach Mick. What is can you put into words what he means to the program as these guys get ready to start training camp?
Yeah, he's the foundation of who we are and what we do. I've known Coach Mick and I have been together for many, many years, and everything we do starts in the weight room. And he's the number 2 in command, and he has a very unique skill set of, coaching guys very hard, yet the respect factor our players have for him is phenomenal.
All right, Coach, thanks so much and good luck this season.
Have a great day. Thanks.
That's Buckeye coach Urban Meyer, of course, talking about strength and conditioning coach Mickey Marotti. He joins us live here from the Big Ten Media Days. More Buckeyes are still to come. In fact, joining us next, we got wideout Paris Campbell and defensive tackle Draymond Jones standing by to join us. It is live from Chicago, Big Ten Media Days. Matt McCoy, Stan Jackson, The Drive on Sports Radio 105.7 The Zone.